My name is Jacob. My life hadn't gone the way I'd expected it, or rather, my future hadn't been what I'd hoped. When I was in college, my whole life revolved around school and work. If I wasn't on the computer writing some program, I was in class or tutoring. If I wasn't doing any of those things, I was helping out at the help desk of our school. Either way, I had no life outside of class and work, mainly because I told myself that I would focus on the fun parts of life when I had a degree and a decent paying job. Right now, I needed to earn all of that. When school finally ended, I was in a panic to get a decent job, because I knew soon after, Uncle Sam would be calling for me to pay back all the student loans I had taken out. Suffice it to say that I wasn't being very picky, and I really just applied for anything that paid a decent amount of money. I didn't even care if it had anything related to do with my computer science major, just that it would pay the bills. I finally found a job with a small web development company, which seemed to be the big dream I was hoping for. It paid great, my coworkers were excellent, my hours were flexible, and work was fun enough. There was an itch in the back of my mind that I couldn't quite scratch, though. Was this it? Was this the life that I'd given up my early 20s for? I got up in the morning and worked out. I'd get dressed and go to work. Then for 8 more hours, I would work on different code banks and polish up different websites before sloughing off back to my new apartment and eat, sleep, and repeat. I tried going out with friends, going to bars and parties, taking walks, all the things you're supposed to do with a normal life. But none of it brought any excitement to me. I started taking inordinate risks. When I was driving, caring less about how people perceived me when I talked to them, and ignoring friends and family. You have to understand some things about me to really know what I was going through. For the better part of my life, I'd been regarded as a pretty strange kid. I was interested in more occult and obscure parts of life, didn't really care much for rules, stealing from others, breaking into houses in my youth, and lying was like second nature. As I entered my teenage years, I realized quickly that I couldn't get away with these things anymore if I wanted to get ahead and decide to change a lot about myself. In essence, I learned to wear a mask and got good at it. That is, seemingly, I forgot I'd been wearing it for years. I had even fooled myself. With the boredom and mediocrity of life after college settling in, my mask was starting to wear loose, and the creature from my youth was peeking out from behind it. I started frantically looking for things to satiate my growing need for thrill and excitement, and my numbness for social norms grew even more deafening. Working in computers, I had heard and used Tor on many occasions, the browser used to access the deep web, but I'd never been interested in anything it provided. At most, it masked your identity and sacrificed speed, but at worst, it was where the dredge of society lurked, and for all my social attribute, I knew I wasn't anything like those people. On my way home from work one day, I was driving down the freeway as normal, but suddenly a guy cut me off and darted in front of me, almost causing me to crash. I slammed on the brakes and turned my steering wheel as hard as I could, causing me to run off the side of the road into a ditch. My brakes and wheels no doubt took some heavy damage, but in general, my car was okay. The whole experience made my heart beat like it was young again, and instead of being mad, I remember I was almost excited by the thrill of it all. That's when it occurred to me that I may have a use for the deep web after all. Like I had said, it was where you could find all the dredges of society, and while I sure wasn't one, perhaps I needed someone who was willing to stoop to that level. When I got home, I downloaded Tor. I started researching different anonymous forums where I might be able to score a little action. To the more experienced users of the dark web, I likely came off as a newbie going around poking his head into places that he knows nothing about, but I didn't care. All I really needed was for one person to be interested in guiding me through the gates of I posted a little thread here and there on any open forum I could find, looking for adventure and something that will get my heart pumping like I'm alive again. I provided a recently set up email and waited to see if I get any replies. Many of my threads were taken down by moderators, and those that weren't were found with unsolicited spam, obvious virus links, or disgusting images sent to the email I had provided. After a few days of no success, I learned of a few chat rooms that I believed might be more helpful with my search. These would be live conversations, so I wouldn't have to wait for replies, and they would hopefully be more welcoming to someone who didn't know a lot about this kind of thing. After posting my normal looking for adventure post, most of the rooms booted me, either as a newbie or believing I was a cop. But in my very last one, I received a pop-up to talk with one of the chat members privately, which I was more than happy to do. There I was at my desk, nothing lighting the room but my monitor. Sitting in the darkness, I chatted back and forth with this guy about my life and how I wanted something more interesting, risky, and fun. He said he'd met many people who'd stumbled upon this chat looking for the same thing, and that he'd always liked helping them out. We talked for days about the different adventures he'd taken his acquaintances on, but how each of them always wanted to return to their normal, dull lives after a bit, which left him to continue his search for that one buddy who wouldn't leave. This sounded incredible, sad, and stalkerish, which, believe it or not, didn't frighten me away, but left me more interested. I'm not naive or stupid. I was talking to someone I'd met on a random dark web chat room. At the most harmless, it could be some old fat guy sitting on the other end, spinning a web of lies. But at most, it really was someone dangerous. And I wanted to find out for myself. I wanted him to be dangerous, because therein lies the thrill, which was my vendetta from the beginning of this little adventure into the dark web. I got up the courage to ask him if he'd ever actually want to meet, and go on one of his little trips just to see what his reaction would be. And of course, he was more than happy. I learned that he was only about 7 hours from me or so. I suggested we meet next week, and that I didn't want to know any of the details, just that I wanted to have a fun time for a few days. The days passed quickly, and the night before I was planning on making my trip, I packed all of the things I thought I would need, clothes and travel stuff, but also a few self-defense items, a flashlight, and several burner phones. Loading it all into my trunk, I started to get a rush then and there of what I was about to do. I was meeting up with a complete stranger in the middle of the night, putting myself in danger. And had I no idea what the morning hours would bring. As I drove down the dark highway road, the lights beaming in front of me, I felt as alive as ever. The dull drudgery of my job, the boring routine of my life, it all just slipped away. Night and the passing cars gave a kind of quiet and peace to my racing mind. When I got to the town of my new friend's address, I really started to feel the excitement wash over me. I had given him the number to one of my burner phones, and he texted me, "Are you almost here?" I didn't reply as I knew I was, and pulling over would have just taken more time. I winded up the road near the edge of town, but definitely removed from the public and prying eyes, until I had seen a house a little away in the distance. Pulling into the driveway, the reality of what I was doing started to hit me, and more than excited, I began to feel a little scared. My car light shone strong against a large metallic garage door, and I had seen a shadow move across the bay windows of what looked like to be a living room. I'd received another text. "Come on in. The door's unlocked," it said. I took a big gulp, and I opened the car door. The beeping startled me as I'd forgotten to turn off the engine. Pulling the keys out, I put them between my knuckles and stepped out of the seat onto the dirt, shutting the door behind me. My heart was racing and every breath was getting more labored. Every instinct I had was telling me to turn around, I looked back at my car, but I just kept moving forward. I heard every step I took in the dark night air, and I slowly reached out to turn the handle on the old door. Cracked paint fuming down it and a rusty handle. Inside the garage, a large white light hung from a cord in the center over 2 pickup trucks, mudded and rusted from head to toe. The place was very cluttered, and I had to step along a narrow path until I reached a screen door just above the few steps. I kind of whispered to myself, "You can turn around, just go back." But my adventurous and empathetic nature took over, and I took a few steps up and through the screen door as it squealed shut. Inside the house was fairly normal, and I started to say, "Hello? Is anyone there?" I didn't hear anything. I said it a few more times, and I started to walk forward into the living room I'd mentioned before. "I'm downstairs, just fixing the water heater," I heard coming from behind me. "There's a wrench on the table. You mind bringing it to me?" I sure as hell wasn't gonna do that. I wanted adventure, but I wasn't going to willingly walk into God knows what kind of trap in a completely locked off room downstairs. All of the instincts that I should have listened to from the get-go came roaring back to my attention, and I immediately turned around to get the hell out of there. Running up to the door, I turned the handle, but it refused to open. I started panicking and turned it so hard that it broke off the door. Just then, I started hearing a creaking sound, like someone coming up the stairs, and my heart didn't race. It just stopped and calmed down. I turned around and remembered the wrench sitting on the kitchen table. I picked up, heaving the thing up, and prepared to fight my way out if I needed to. Those giant bay windows were another way out of the house. Quick like lightning, I ran past the door to the stairs where the voice and the creaking came from and slammed the door shut as I did. I hopped onto the couch, bashed the windows with the wrench, climbing through the broken shards of glass. Climbing into my car as if there was no tomorrow, I shoved the keys into the ignition and screeched out of the driveway, laying my foot to the pedal as hard as I could. After a few hours of berating myself on the long trip home, the sun was starting to come up, and I felt a twinge of relief come over me. I was so tired from the whole night of events, and after slinking into my apartment out of my clothes, and crawled into bed wanting to forget any of the craziness had ever happened, I closed my eyes and drifted off to sleep. A few hours later, I woke up to a beeping on my computer, meaning I had a new message. I went over to my computer to see that it was from my now former, never to actually meet acquaintance. "Why did you leave? We did have so much fun together." I didn't reply. I just looked at the message and considered what my next move should be at this point. Another message came up on the screen, which left me shaken and cold. "Your apartment looks so boring compared to what I had in store." My webcam wasn't on. So how on earth did he know what my apartment looked like? How the hell did he know where I even am? How did he... That was the last thing that Jacob said before meeting a rather unfortunate accident. My basement really was much nicer than this apartment, and I was so sad he couldn't have stayed for long. All my friends always seem to leave me. I guess I'll just need to find another one. Tell me, have you ever thought about going on the dark web?